we should be recording.
We were so good at running schools, but when it comes to this tech stuff.
Well, when it comes to the tech stuff, Master Moody and I are probably the two techiest propeller heads in the industry. But every one of these different things, it's, you know, no matter how much you understand tech stuff, you still got to figure out how the software and where the buttons are and where they hit it. And
I think we're rolling.
And we are rolling. So, hey, I welcome everybody. Stephen Oliver here, and I am joined by, I guess I should use proper titles since you're ATA guys, Grandmaster, not within ATA, because that's what reserved for one person. But I'm a 9th degree black belt under Jun Rhee and Jeff Smith, and he may join us here actually. And I am joined by ATA's Senior Master, Greg Moody. And Greg Moody, let me hand him off to you for a second, and I'll have you introduce Mr. Wright if they don't know him already. We'll go from there.
Well, I think a lot of people know me in the ATA already. We've been teaching seminars all over the country for ATA and for us and for my seminars that I've been brought out to teach and all over the United States and South America and in pretty much everywhere. So I think everybody's either had some time with me for one reason or another, did the bullying prevention program for ATA and a lot of other seminars and training, and had eight schools here in Arizona and California, about 14,000 students in various different times out here. So we've done a lot, and really what I spend my time with you and with our other clients here is trying to really work with all the owners to grow their schools. And that's a good segue for Mr. Wright, because he's one of our best examples in the last couple of years, where he started out with, I'm going to brag a little bit about him. He started out really with, and that's a good segue for Mr. Wright, because he's one of our best examples in the last echo there, where he started out with, I'm going to brag a little bit about him. He started out really, we have a little bit of echo for live streaming on Facebook. Should I keep going there? All right. Okay. All right. But he's one of our best examples, because he started out really, and I don't want to, it sounds a little bit mean, but really not doing very well. And kind of just started out in the martial arts industry, but not being very successful. And really within 18 months, doing great and doing way past 40,000, doing really well in his school. But then we got the news after about 18 months with him, us and everybody in the ATA knows how difficult it is. He got his blue collar, and a lot of people think that's a lot of people wearing blue collars or silver collars or gold collars around the ATA, but a lot of times that's because they've been doing it a long time and have a lot of juniors running schools. And Mr. Wright's doing it really just within his own school. So that gives you a good idea of how much growth he's accomplished in the last few years. So with that, Mr. Wright's been a great student of ours, and somebody that's really taken everything that we've done. And I think one of the things that's made him really successful is when we suggest something, he just does it. When we say charge this, he does it. And when we say do this, he does it, and not blindly. He totally wants to understand exactly what we're doing, but at the same time, he's confident enough to just take the suggestions and run with it. So anyway, Mr. Wright, take it from there. I mean, what are your thoughts on kind of how you got started and what you're doing right now?
Well, you were hitting it on the head. I mean, we were about to close, and at that same time, I'm going.
Well, I was a little bit nicer than what you was a little worse off than what I had said.
I was a lot worse off, and at the same time, I'm going in for back surgery. So it was. I mean, we were dying, and you kept emailing me, and I kept thinking you were a different Moody over here in Middle Tennessee, and I'm wondering, why is this guy emailing me? Well, long story short, you get me on the phone, and I see the light, get in with this group, and yeah, every time you guys suggest something, I jump on it and read as I go, because from the beginning, from the first month, we started making improvements. And now we're to the point where I'm out here looking at 2 new instructors running the show. I'm watching the class through the window here. Things are running great. I'm able to sit down here during prime time, which is very rare, but I'm sitting here during prime time, not worried about it. We've gotten to a point now from a few years ago where we're about to close to if we get below 40,000, I'm upset. The staff they're not happy people because they know that somebody may get the axe if we continue on that and that level. So if that's where we are now, we're growing. We're forecasting still $750,000 for this little school. And when we get above that level, then we'll be talking about other possibilities as far as expansion or whatever we need to do to continue to grow.
And you do have a little school. Sometimes people say to us, oh yeah, those guys are doing that, but I couldn't do that in my town. Well, you're in Memphis, Tennessee. It's a nice part of town, but it's not, you don't have Rolls Royces driving around. They say, oh, I couldn't do that because I need a bigger school or I need something else. Your school isn't very big. In fact, your floor space is pretty small. I came out there last year. I'm coming out again in August. We're going to be doing a seminar as well. And we did about 20,000 that day when I came out. And it's very small floor space, very small school. And you're still able to do that because you're effective and efficient in the things that you do. So.
Well, we manage it. And if it's getting so big and I have concerns, I'm able to tap into you. I'm able to tap into Master Oliver, Master Smith. And we have a network of us. What is it? I don't know how large MA Wealth is now, but we have a whole network of people. We talk to each other. So I don't have to worry about anything as long as I'm reading and staying on top of it. And of course, ABM, always be marketing, which you and Master Oliver have me hooked on now. So I don't worry about anything anymore. It's because I know we're going to grow. I've got a staff. I'm doing nothing but training them on how to keep a high quality martial arts program running on the floor, but they're also learning how to do what I do as far as enrollments, maintaining the renewal mindset, which is on the floor, and then also the retention when the students upgrade. We just had a big upgrade again today. We've gone from when you and I were talking, my top students were paying $150 a month. I just upgraded one of our campers today. Mom came in, said I need to put him in leadership. He was the only non-leadership camper we had today. And they're paying, and this is with me allowing a little bit less of a price per month, but she's paying $400 a month. That was unheard of 3 years ago here. So, and I owe that to this group because I would have never thought I could charge that. And I don't do it blindly. It's, we earn it. I read every night, every morning.
Yeah, they're paying $400 because they understand that it's worth it.
Right. And we have to prove that it's worth it. It's not just, hey, at $400, come sign up. That didn't happen. That doesn't happen. So.
No, absolutely not. And a couple things for clarification there. Now, we already said you're in Memphis, but see, Master Moody and I, and I'm sure you as well, but Master Moody, Master Smith, and I, we're talking to school owners all the time. In fact, we have a whole series of these live events where we're talking to school owners that Master Moody, Master Smith, and myself are running. And what we hear is, I could never charge that in my area. You don't know my area. Or all the other school owners are charging X. I'm already more than any of them, or I'm already in the middle, or whatever it might be. The other thing that we hear is, I've got to tell you, most people approach us because they think that everything's running perfect. If they could only get more new students in the door, they would be better off, right? And so they're getting 10 new students a month. If I could only get 20, they're getting 5 new students a month. If I could only get 10, I'm getting 20 new students a month. If I could only get 40. But Thomas, is it a fair thing to say that we solved the marketing problem pretty quickly, right?
Yes.
Our last meeting is, I wanted to talk about marketing, and all of our members there only wanted to talk about how to drink from a fire hose, because everyone in the room had not too many, but they had a lot of intros coming in and needed help with time management, sales processes to deal with volume. Is that a fair analysis?
Yes, sir. In fact, when you're marketing properly, the fire hose never really shuts off anyway.
You're right.
But yeah, we do learn and spend a lot of time talking about getting people in the door. But more importantly, and the way I finally understood it, I don't chase 30, 40, 50 new students a month. I don't, as long as our upgrades are there, and number one, we keep our students, not through bullying them on their billing, but by making them want to stay. If I'm getting that, having conversations where I'm losing 3 or 4 students a month or higher, then I look at it as, and the way I've learned it finally, the new paradigm shift for me a couple of years ago was, it's us, not them.
Right.
And so it's a staff meeting. Okay, what are we not doing? And we find the holes and we plug them.
Yeah.
But at the live meeting, Mr. Wright, would you agree with Master Oliver that we had a pretty big 80 people in that room? I think it was, because it was really crowded, and everybody was. It was kind of different, because everybody there was almost, I wouldn't say overwhelmed, but they were kind of overwhelmed with as many new members as they were dealing with, right? Is that fair? Pretty much everybody had that issue, unless they were brand new with us.
Yeah, and I've been there, because I've had to make the call to both of you, say, okay, here's what's about to come through my door. What do I do? And
Right.
you set me straight. And it's been that way. That's our rule here. Nobody panics. We handle it. We divide and conquer, and we just keep rolling. So it's fun. We laugh when it gets that busy. So life is good.
Yeah, well, and most people haven't had that experience, right? What was your highest number of intros in a week, if you recall specifically or had to guess?
Oh, 80 something. It's been a little bit since we've been that high, but we're getting ready to crank out. Now that I have my new staff trained, it's time to get back out into the field. So we're working on this whole property here. Paradiso won't let us in, no big deal, because I've got all that property is still, there's Whole Foods right across the street, not across the street, the parking lot. Houston's is right there. Kroger is right there. So we're just setting up outside. We're putting up together things where we're just setting up outside. So I'm going to get all the movie theater people. I'm going to get all the Whole Foods people, the Kroger people. We've got it set up tons of not intros, but appointments.
Right.
And we go from there. And we have the system to put it together. So.
Yeah, and as you're talking about that, the language that I think I stole from Jay Abraham years ago, but it's the Parthenon, right? It's having a whole bunch of different pillars
Right.
going on, and we have, as you well know, we talked to him last week. We're going to do a follow-up next week on how to really do it all. Is one of our members, Jeff Patterson? He's having 6 to 10 intros that he's scheduling a day from Facebook.
In the school, sir. It wasn't 6 to 10. It was like 6 to 10 people in the school, not even intros scheduled.
No, absolutely not. I mean, not leads, people, bodies, right? And then we had Amanda Christensen last week made 58 intro appointments over the weekend with one of the movie promotions, and then we had I'm trying to remember just in the last week, right? But you probably have some more of the stories on top of your head, or Thomas, you do too. But we could go through, and Paul Grusho, who's up in Albany, New York, I believe, he scheduled 62 appointments in the last 3 or 4 days. Rob Adelick, who's in Niagara Falls on the Canadian side, he scheduled 32 appointments, right, just on Saturday. And so what's working is family add-ons, referrals, Facebook, Google, live events, community outreach for the kids market with elementary schools, community outreach with daycares and summer camps, publicity and PR. We've had people get lots of TV coverage. And Thomas, you got some of that, got some traffic doing some things like that as well. And we could go on through the list, right?
Yeah. But you have to stay on it. You can't just sit down and say, wow, that was a great fall.
Oh, absolutely.
It's always, you never stop.
Yeah.
Well, what a lot of our, I think it'd be fair to say, Mr. Wright, is that a lot of what we're doing is trying to help everybody stay on track with enough things happening all the time so that we know what works. Because sometimes you do one of these things and they don't work. So you've got to have enough things happening consistently. And what a lot of people want to ask me is they say, well, what's the one thing you do for marketing? And they want me to tell them the one magic thing. And in it's ridiculous, and the question's ridiculous. I mean, it's
everything. I don't know which way he would go. Everything. That's the one thing to do.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's got to be enough stuff, and then part of what our job is to do is keep on top of this stuff so we can help you guys know what the most effective way to do these things are. Because there's a lot of dumb ways to do the one activity. You know, there's a lot of dumb ways to do a birthday party. There's a lot of dumb ways to do a movie theater promotion. There's a lot of dumb ways, and most of the time, I hate to say this, but in most of the industry for most schools, they do it the wrong way. They do it the way that isn't very effective, and then they get depressed and they say, "Oh, it doesn't work," and "Oh, I tried that and it doesn't work." Well, you know, these are the real kind of numbers. We're not making any of these numbers up. Is that fair, Mr. Wright? These are all like numbers these guys are telling you, and we communicate back and forth about the results that we're getting.
Right. Yeah. When I talk to you two, especially you, Senior Master Moody, when I talk to you about end of month, I mean, I'm talking off of my P&L. So yeah, these are real numbers. This is the real.
And is it fair to say that a school run well can be running half to the bottom line? So, I mean, you're not talking about huge staff, huge advertising budgets, everything else. You may start building the staff, either one, because you want to take more time off, or two, because you have volume to justify it. But it's reality that 50% can go to the bottom line. Thomas, you were at the meeting. Colby Winkler, I think it was his comment. He said what our elevator pitch should be is we take whatever your current gross is and then turn that into your net. Is that a fair way to say it? Although I think you've doubled or tripled that number.
Yes, sir. Well, remember that one year we were 215% of the year net.
Right.
You know, and it just keeps going up. I mean, I would still remember thinking, man, I wish I could hit 30,000. I told Senior Master Moody when we were first getting started with him. I said, yeah, 30,000 would sure pay a lot of bills. And he's like, what? And you're right. 30,000 is just not enough. It's nowhere near it. It's not, you know, that's a number where I'm either firing people or looking at firing myself. My wife looks at me and wants to fire me.
Wants to fire you. I think she wants to fire you anyway.
And that's not because you're not profitable at 30,000. It's just a low number. Our expectations are higher.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we paid the bills. It was nice paying bills, but you know, we like to take care of the house. I don't have time to do things at the house, so I have finally hired out, and people take care of it. And man, the outside of the house is better than it's ever been. But because we can, and I had to, but we were able to. My wife retired from 40 years as a paralegal at the end of December because we could. She works here full time now. So,
and as you've seen with our team, I think we are up to 10 or 12 $1 million plus schools. You've met, I think, all of them.
Yes.
You're on track for $750,000 this year, and then we're going to get you on track for $1 million.
Yeah, if it's not by the end of this year, it will be somewhere next year. It's going to happen. It's happening. We're moving. So
then that literally will be you're netting more than you're currently grossing. And absolutely. But I know we have Greg Macy up in Fort Collins. He's got one school that's at $1 million. Amanda Christensen's at $1 million. Eric Williams High and Winter at $1 million. Help me out, Master Moody. Steve White's at $1 million.
I think Travis is at $1 million.
He's getting there. He's getting there. I'll come up with some more names here in a minute, but it's completely doable. Thomas, as we focus on marketing, and I think that most people think that's the hard part, and it's the thing that we can solve within probably 90 days. Is that a fair thing to say?
You can solve if you do if we as the school owner will do what you all suggest, you can solve a lot of problems in a lot less than 60 days or 90 days. 60 days, yeah, easily. But you got to do it, and you got to read. I mean, I've got, we've laughed over and over. I have stacks of books that I've read and stacks of books I'm trying to get to, and you all keep adding to them. And it's all marketing, leadership, some business, but it's almost all marketing and leadership, really.
Yeah.
And you've got me hooked on marketing. I love it. I can't look at something and not try to analyze, okay, what is that message really? You know?
Right. And how would you say, if we were talking about the average student you bring in the door, one thing that we focus on, we can talk about it either way, but let's say lifetime value or the average monthly value. Relative to when you started, how's your lifetime value of a student, which is, of course, how much they pay down, monthly, paid in full, retention. Has that gone up a bit?
Well, yeah, it's way up. It really is. And, you know, you've taught me ways where I can work with other students who maybe are having a little more difficulty. I've got a lot of blue collar, almost all my parents here, although we're in a nice semi-affluent area. Most of our people, the ones who are sticking it out, are blue collar, or, you know, they're like middle income, which, you know, I don't care what the politicians keep promising, that just doesn't ever seem to go up. Mm-hmm. And they're doing everything. I mean, they're coming to me and said, yeah, I've worked, just took a job taking care of this guy a couple times a week, and, you know, keeping their kid in our program. And so, of course, when they say that, that makes me want to make sure even more that parent is taken care of when they're in here, when they're not in here, and to make sure that kid is covered 100% on the floor, at school, everything. So well, I got that from all of you, that it's the experience of the family that makes the difference.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing in what we teach or what we're talking to anybody about that would ever be, we want to, you know, get in there quick and get a bunch of sales and have everybody paying full and not care about the product and not care about the customer in the end. I mean, we want to keep the students forever. We want them to be really successful and have high quality results in the end. And I think that's, I think people miss that message a lot when we have to talk about. They ask us, well, how do we get more members? Okay, and then we solve that problem for them. And then, well, how do we do our sales and enrollments right? And we solve that problem. But if you don't have good ethics, then those things aren't going to be very, in the long run, that's not going to be very effective. And that's not what any of our guys, and especially the guys who are doing really well, are all about. They're about doing all that stuff. And truthfully, if you do it all well with really high ethics, then it actually makes the sales process go easier. It actually makes all the rest of it go easier.
It's really not a sales process when you do it right, because I don't look at any of it as sales. I don't look at any sales tricks. You know, everything, by the time we sit down and we go over the numbers with the family, they've seen everything that we're doing. And it really is more of a, let's get started. I mean, that's really all it is. It's not a sales thing. It's because we have that program and they see it when they come in, and then we'll work with them one-on-one, sometimes more than once in the room, and just to make sure the entire family's involved, and boom, they're a student.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you know, that kind of assumes the word sales as a negative, and I view it as a positive if you're thinking in terms of leadership and persuasion, and it's a negative if it's talking somebody into something they don't want to do, or if the focus is on getting their money, not providing the service. And we know, I mean, there's a lot of ATA schools went through this cycle of learning high pressure sales techniques with low service delivery, and in fact, absence of focus on retention. And that's the opposite of what we're doing, right? Is number one, you said a number a minute ago, you said if you lose 2 or 3 a month. Well, you're how many active students are you at now?
297 total. And when you count all of them, yeah, family members.
So if you lose 3 a month, you're concerned. 3 a month is 1% a month, right? So 293, 2.9 would be 1%. And sometimes people can't fathom that. I've heard very well-known, well-respected people who've worked with ATA schools as well as others who say, well, everybody's going to drop out 7% a month. Well, we're getting big schools. And as you've seen, and Thomas, no criticism, I don't think 293 is big, right? It's great.
Oh, no, you don't. No, that's just new for me.
Yeah, no, but at 297, we have you on track for $750,000 this year and $1 million next year.
Yes, sir.
But we're having big schools at 1% a month, which is what you're at, or maybe 2% a month. But the target is under 2% a month loss rate. And
right, I'm working on that. Our goal right now is staying under 3% loss rate. By doing that, I only have to enroll 15 to 20 new students a month, and then to use our terms, upgrade 8 to 11 a month. And by doing that, our school skyrockets, and I'm not having a heart attack each month trying to run to 7 different places, scraping for 30 to 50 new students. I've done that, and I'd say I just enjoy working with high quality, real numbers and people. And once you all got me to realize that, life has been much better for me.
yeah, if you do it that way, you're the exhausted hamster on the wheel, right?
Right, that wasn't fun.
Right.
Yeah, I was falling off that wheel quick.
Absolutely. Now, you use the term upgrade, and I think an awful lot of people in our industry either dramatically misuse it, or it's become kind of a dirty word because of the way that the bozo explosion of consultants have ended up perverting the idea. Really, is it fair to say what we're working with all of our members is taking a new student and spending the first couple of months wrapping them in wolf cloth, really focusing on getting them comfortable with us as a family, getting them comfortable in the school, and helping them renew their goals and set new higher expectations for themselves so that we have them long term, and then providing an expanded service that can be at a much higher rate that they'll be really happy paying. Is that a fair way to say it?
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, you really made, you and your group, and although we always used to talk about it, your group made sure we understood that all that happens at the very first step of the door. We have a 3-second rule. No one walks through that door, student, new person, doesn't matter, without some kind of greeting within 3 seconds. Yeah. That's just not allowed to happen. So I lost track of what I was going to say, but
that's why I always had a lock on my office.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the camera in the background, if we're not careful.
Well, yeah.
Well, okay. Well, so back to that again. We wrap them up first step in the door, all the way through. That's something Senior Master Moody has been drilling into my head almost every time we talk. And so all the way into from their first orientation class, what we call an intro. Okay, they get their first one. If we don't get the happy feeling and they don't seem sure of what we're doing, we're not going after this hard close. Get them back in, make sure we have the whole family there. Let's get the family in. Work them out, show them what we do, explain everything. And then from there, we still have a system where we're not just tossing them on the floor like it used to be. They go through a process of getting them ready to go out on the floor. And through that process, they're learning everything. Then they're finally out on the floor. By then, we already have their parent-teacher conference set up. I don't know how deep you want me to go into all this, because I can spend all day talking about our processes, our systems, I should call them.
We'll titillate, not do a 3-hour seminar.
And you know how I can start.
We can save that for later. But the thing is these things fit together. So sometimes when we talk to people too, they go, well, boy, that's a lot of work. That seems like a lot of things to do. But once you put those pieces in place and get used to doing them, it just is part. They all fit together. It's not like there's separate retention systems and separate renewal or upgrade systems and separate this. It all fits. If you do that really well when they walk in, then the having them decide they want to be a black belt and be in leadership or in a higher level program makes a lot of sense. I think a lot of people are making the mistake now where they try to enroll them in like what they call a leadership program, like on day one. Yeah. And, that's something maybe to address here a little bit, because, we don't generally recommend that. And part of the reason for that is if you do that, then your price point of what you're charging your student is always going to be much lower. It's just unnecessary. And that's one of the reasons there's usually this what we're calling this upgrade system. And in a lot of people go, well, I don't want to have to talk to them later about upgrade and talk to them later. But the reality of it is that when you start somebody in your school, they don't know anything about martial arts. And people don't like doing that process. You don't mind doing that process because it's all part of the retention system too. But what I think a lot of people aren't comfortable with is their sales process later, because they don't really know how to do it really well. And so they feel like they're trying to talk somebody into doing something, talk somebody into a 4-year contract, or talk somebody into a longer term thing. And it shouldn't really come across that way. It should be relatively easy, and it should be because the student really wants to accomplish something really exciting and big for them. And that's what we're trying. Would it be fair to say that's what we're trying to help you do, so that the conversation doesn't end up being about money and contract? It ends up being about setting goals and their success in the future.
Absolutely. We're working on, as Master Oliver touched on, the student lifetime value. Well, how do you have a student lifetime value? You have a student for life. And that's how we work it. We're looking at spending 5, 10, 15, 20, maybe the rest of our lives with some of these students. So, we got to make sure that we're a good fit for their family. And then something that y'all made sure I understood was that they're also a good fit for our family. And we've all had those times when we're like, oh man, I just don't want to see so-and-so. That's just not a good way to go to work. And it's not fair to them either. Find another place for them to go. Again, that's another conversation. But, that we're looking for students for life. I'm looking at here at our basic class. These are kids I'm looking at keeping for life. And and that's how we approach our move up. That's why we have a trial program. And then after a couple of weeks of that, we talk about everything else. But we got to make sure we're a good fit for them, make sure they're a good fit for us. And there are other things we have to look at. Then we sit down and we talk. Then we start the conferences and all the things to make sure we're doing our job. That's part of the conference. And of course, making sure they or their family or their kid is doing their job. And the family is part of the kid doing their job. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Sure.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
It's interesting. Somehow I managed to hide my camera on the recording here, and I'm fully visible on the Facebook feed. So it's always entertaining figuring out how these software mechanisms work, but I am here. And Thomas, is it a fair thing to say that anybody who's listening here would do themselves well to at least explore a little bit more? And we're going to give them like 3 hours of free video and 2 books and a bunch of other stuff. And mostly we're going to schedule a time with Senior Master Moody, myself, Grandmaster Jeff Smith, to give them some feedback on how they're doing, and probably give them 3 or 4 ideas on ways that they can improve themselves. Would that be worthwhile, would you say, for any school who's listening, especially those who are doing fairly well, who might be a little skeptical?
Yes, sir. If they feel they're doing fairly well, I promise you will show them how to do extremely well.
Yeah.
I still remember my first conversation with you, Master Oliver, you, Senior Master Moody. I still remember my first conversation and meeting Grandmaster Smith. So, yeah, I mean, that's how good those conversations are, how important those conversations are.
Yeah, and I think there's really different groups of people that we work with. And would you say, though, it seems to me that a lot of your growth happened. We got you pretty quickly up to the $30,000 range, yeah. But I think a lot of your growth happened in quicker when you're in the $30,000 range and up, right? Is that fair to say?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And so I think of a lot of the schools that are listening or hear this conversation, they might be thinking, well, we're trying to get people that are ready to close, like you said at the beginning, and getting them to grow. But really where I think the most action happens is from the 30,000 and up range. Once we get you up to that point. So if you're a school that's doing 25, 30,000, 35,000, and you've got 100 students or 200 students, and that's, I think that's where the biggest improvement can be made. Certainly schools that are smaller, to be fair, and for a lot of people, when we talk to you, there'll be some people we talk to and we may not really accept you in our program because is that fair to say, Mr. Wright? Because you preferred some people, and there's some people we that just don't quite qualify for working with us. We've got a few rules about that.
Yes.
So we just don't work with everybody. But I think that higher level or mid-level school, we would call it in our, within the group that we're working with, that's where the biggest growth can happen. Certainly, if you're smaller, we can still help you get to that point like we did with you. But Master Oliver, that'd be fair to say with the guys that we've been working with.
Oh, without a doubt. And for anybody who's interested, is just go to martialartswealth.com/ATA. And with that, what it does, it gives you a chance to, what is it, Master Moody? 3 seminar videos,
right?
2 books, the copy of my Everything I Wish I Knew I Was 22 book and the Martial Arts Wealth book. And also it gives you a chance to schedule for a free evaluation. And frankly, that's worth, that package, what probably a couple $1,000s worth of stuff. I mean, the content is very, very good, and at least if you ask me.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I had probably the last of the older package, which was still just by itself. I had those CDs going into the computer. I was getting up at literally 4 in.the morning, listening to your Lee Miltier or her stuff. Of course, y'all's recordings of your previous year, or now those are a few years old, 4 years old. Previous year live meetings and taking notes like crazy, and I still have some of them over there where the old DVD or CD player used to be.
Well, they're really valuable reference material, and if somebody's gotten some of that, then you really owe it to yourself to spend some time, at least schedule the time with us so we can go through what you're doing currently, even if you've done it before, and we can give you some ideas. If we cite's a good match and we work together, that's great. But either way, then we can help you with some things to do and help you with some actions you can take. And it's World's coming up pretty soon as we're recording this. If we catch you before Worlds, it's a tight schedule, but it'd be good to make sure that we get some time in prior to that time. I know we're helping a lot of our members make sure they make most of their money in the month before Worlds.
You know what's funny is, and I still remember the first year I went to Worlds and was gone the entire week, of course, in Little Rock. And so there's 3 weeks that nothing was happening here, and we still had the best July to date. So, and it's just been that way.
Thomas, in your words, give everybody a sense of the process that we use, because it really isn't, what we found is the old mechanism of mailing a DVD and a CD from a distance really doesn't work. Nobody really makes any progress that way. Tell them about the process, because really it is, we're working together every week in a very similar format than what we're doing here on the video, and then quarterly, or at least a couple times a year, getting together face to face. Yeah, give them a little bit of a sense what that process feels like.
Well, we get to talk at the level I've moved into for this growth we're doing. I get to talk to y'all almost weekly, and I can call and text constantly. It's not like y'all are some higher up hierarchy and I have to just totally schedule everything. If I have an issue, I can text Senior Master Moody and he gets to me right away, or if he can't, the least he does is tell me that, okay, well, go on to meetmeso.com and we schedule a call, and all of you are always available at some point during the day, and which is a huge help. The other process, the big things about this process is we do this type of meeting almost weekly. We have the live meetings, quarterly about, and when we get to do that, I know you all are up at the front and answering, fielding questions, and of course showing us what we need to be doing and talking about it. But the small breaks we get, the nighttime when we're, sometimes late at nighttime when we finally come out of there, we talk. We talk all the time, and I plant myself next to guys like Craig Macy and somewhere near the Christensens and stuff, and of course with some of the others, because they're all friends of ours. And so we're all in there with people like me who are growing, people like Macy and Christensens and some of the others who are way up there but still growing. So we get to talk. So there's the ultimate mastermind. Napoleon Hill would just pat us all on the back saying, there you go, that's what I was talking about. So now we have a mastermind group that we can talk about. And then any questions, we still have you. And then when we meet together face to face, y'all are up there helping us. And when we come up with something we feel it might be new or off the wall, at least one of you, and usually all of you, have gone through that before. There isn't anything new to you guys because you've done it since, well, basically the beginning of modern martial arts schools. So
we're that old.
Well, I'm not going to say who is. I will say there's one who is creeping up there, and he can still kick everybody's butt.
For the record, that's Grandmaster Jeff Smith.
Yeah, oh my
Yeah,
God.
that's great.
I dropped him off late at night, and then all of a sudden he's live video casting from the gym over here at the DoubleTree in the workout room, working out. I'm like,
yeah,
I worked him all weekend.
He's training as if he has a world title fight when he turns 70.
Yeah,
It's true. It's true. Yeah.
When he's 170.
Yeah, but I think some of the things you're talking about, to kind of back up what you're saying, is that there's some one-on-one work, but there's also really important is some work with the group, so that you're working in video conference and then sometimes live with the other people. That then I think you got to remember back. It's been a long time since I've ever been in school, but sometimes people ask a question that you never would have thought of, and that question itself might be the one that you actually needed or would have helped you the most. Versus the one that you maybe had on your list to ask. And I think that's what's really important. But what can't work really, or what doesn't seem to work, at least for most people, is you go to a seminar once a year, and then hopefully you go back and everything works out and you make a bunch of progress. It's not that those things aren't really valuable, but it's not the whole story. And it just doesn't seem to give really good results. It's not as effective, because we've all gone to seminars and then we leave, and by the time we get home and get everything done, then what really happens after it? It's the classic Tony Robbins thing.
There's so much information in these live meetings when we go and meet like in Golden and Tampa or Clearwater. There's so much incredible information that some of us can't wait until Sunday, because we know we've done it enough. Sunday is the day almost 24 hours of note taking finally makes sense, because there's so much of it at one time. And then when we get home, we have to have that one-on time with all of you to help us put this stuff together so that we're doing it correctly.
It makes sense.
Yeah, as you've always said, you said, I'm not afraid to jump in there. And I've jumped in with both feet. And there have been times you said, okay, well, you need to back off just a little bit and let's do it this way. But that's good. We take it, we jump in, you're right there to help us out with it, to direct it in the correct way.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, anything to add to that, Senior Master Moody, before we ring off for the day?
No, I just really like to encourage everybody to make sure they spend some time, get on martialartswealth.com/ATA and fill that form out and schedule some time with us. And we'll get right. Usually, in the next week or so, it might be available, but after that, it's going to get tight. So make sure you do that now, and then we can get together figure out what's just a couple things that'll make a big difference. And usually what we find is 1 or 2 things, some small tweaks can make a huge difference right away in your school. I think Mr. Wright will back me up on that. It's not, let's do 400 things and fix them all, and then maybe in a couple 6 months you'll be doing a little bit better. It's 2 or 3 things make a big difference right away. So get on the phone with us, and that's really the key that's going to unlock a lot of this growth.
Very good. Well, thank you.
So get started now.
There you go. There you go. martialartswealth.com/ATA. Thank you so much, Mr. Wright, and thank you, Senior Master Moody.
My pleasure, sir. Thank you, Senior Master. Thank you, Grandmaster.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.